So officially, hello and welcome back. This is the webinar, Navigating Your Year of Service, the second session in your AmeriCorps VISTA pre-service orientation. It is appropriately titled as we want to review and clarify some of the benefits of VISTA service, so you'll know how to get the most from them. We'll also explore some areas of VISTA terms and conditions to make sure you don't get into trouble. And we'll also share some sources of help and support for you to use throughout your year of service, which are all important elements to you and your service so that you can successfully navigate through your year and become a VISTA alum. With us today, we have
Ann O.T.
Eric Powell, substituting for Patrick Triano.
And I'm Jessica Birch. We'll be your host today from VISTA headquarters in D.C. We also have with us Andy Scott, Scott Weinrobe, and Andy King here from VISTA headquarters, who are going to be answering your questions in the chat. And I'm so sorry, it's Andy Clark and Scott Weinrobe. I'm getting those two names mixed up, and Andy King. They're going to also be here to help you answer any questions you may have as we go through this session, as we're giving you a lot of good information today. So with that, I'm going to now turn it over to Ann, who's going to do one of my most favorite activities in the blend. Ann?
Awesome. Thank you, Jessica. So now that you all know a little bit about who we are and where we're located, we want to know where you're serving. With all of the people attending this PSO blend, it is great for people to start making connections and see who may be serving near them. So using the annotation tools on the upper left side of your screen, click on the one that looks like an arrow on the far left and use it to point to where you're serving as a VISTA member. As you know, we have VISTA members serving in all 50 states as well as in the U.S. territories. So Jessica put hers up in D.C.
That's right, Ann. We have a lot of people here, a lot of people coming from the East Coast. Once again, find that annotation tool on the left-hand side, get the arrow, and you can place your arrow to where you're serving. Got a lot of people on the East Coast. Eric, anybody in your hometown of Massachusetts?
They're kind of all bunched in Connecticut, Massachusetts, but we're all New Englanders, so we love them all.
Got a few people that are down in Florida. We don't have any Alaska folks. I know there's at least one Alaska folk in here. Come on. Let's see. A lot of people on the East Coast. The West Coast is feeling a little lonely. Looks like we have a good concentration of people in like San Diego and then in Northern California. Looks like we have Francis there, who's kind of serving central-ish, central-south California, if that's actually a thing. Madison is serving somewhere in the ocean. Hope you're here with us, Madison. Got some Hawaii, Alexandra.
Yay, Hawaii.
Wonderful. There's Rebecca. They're serving in Alaska. Way to go.
Awesome. As you look at this map to see where everyone is located, remember that you can connect with each other through the VISTA Campus map and your online classroom by using the class roster that's downloadable. So now you are in your third day as a VISTA member, and we hope that it's going well and that you are off to a strong beginning. We expect that you're participating in a thorough on-site orientation and training during these first few weeks of your VISTA service. Your supervisor typically leads this site-specific training to help you learn about your organization, how things get done, what you'll be doing as a VISTA member, and more about the community that you're going to be serving. You're likely also going to meet a lot of new people who may be a resource to you and start making lots of connections. This session is all about you and how you can get the most of your VISTA experience. By the end of the session, we hope that you'll be able to identify the VISTA benefits that will support you during your service and know how to access them, describe the key terms and conditions of VISTA service and follow them, and access the support you need to have a successful year of service.
During your 3-week PSO blend, you will intensively be using the VISTA Classroom website, which is separate from my.americorps.gov and separate from the VISTA campus. The two main websites that you will use as a VISTA member throughout and after your year of service are the VISTA campus and, of course, my.americorps.gov. Once again, just a refresher, the my.americorps.gov website is where you applied to your position, where you did your direct deposit, and where you can access your VISTA assignment description, also known as your VAD. It is also where, in a few weeks, you will be able to access your living allowance statements, request certain benefits, and print your service letter. We will talk about these in a few minutes. The vistacampus.gov website is where you completed your onboarding courses and tutorials, but the VISTA campus has much more than just the tutorial you completed before coming to PSO. there are opportunities for ongoing learning and professional development. You can also sign up for courses, find other VISTA members, and also learn more about all of your benefits. So let's take a minute to dive deeper into all of the VISTA campus has to offer, because it is an important element in helping you navigate your year of service through building skills, obtaining professional development opportunities, and more.
Thank you, Eric. So let's start with Life as a VISTA. By now, you've already created your account on the VISTA campus. To make it easier for you to find resources you need, we're going to take a look at how the campus is organized. So Life as a VISTA, as you see on the screen here, includes a lot of things: pre-service, in-service, after-service, and alumni. You should have looked at all the pre-service information, but now that you're in service, there are a lot of great benefits available to you. With all of the questions, I'm sure you have probably have about those benefits. You probably have questions about, you know, your living allowance, maybe even what the policies are around leave. You're going to want to refer back to the VISTA benefits section of the campus under in-service. You're also going to want to reference the VISTA Member Handbook, which we'll talk about here in just a moment. The benefits page is the reference guide for managing your year, getting help when needed, and learning new ways that you can make and document your impact. That's really where the VISTA Impact Reporting tool comes in. As I mentioned, you're also going to want to refer to the VISTA Member Handbook, which is your guide on policy and a source of answers to many common questions that you may have during service.
The work section provides online tutorials, readings, and self-directed learning on topics like working with volunteers, communication, fundraising, and a lot more. The VISTA program area resources section contains materials related to areas such as tutoring, mentoring, financial literacy, and education. So if your project relates to one of these, you'll definitely want to look here. Some of this may be familiar to you already from a course that you took or a training that you attended. Whether you are experienced in it or not, you should definitely take a look at the other section and see that there are also additional resources and community development, project management, and so much more. These resources can help you successfully accomplish your VAD as well as help you in your future career.
In the Connect and Learn heading, you will find the VISTA forums with numerous discussion topics among fellow VISTA members, upcoming webinars, and VISTA online courses. As we mentioned earlier, the VISTA map, as you guys got a little bit taste of it earlier, is also a great way to connect to VISTA members and alumni serving in your area or serving across the country. It's important to know that PSO is really just the start of your learning process as a VISTA member. You will receive an invitation to a webinar called Planning Your Professional Development, which will help you develop a concrete plan for gaining the knowledge and the skills you will need to succeed. This Planning Your Professional Development webinar is not an official part of the PSO blend. However, it is a webinar that all VISTA members attend soon after PSO to really get you thinking about growing within and beyond your service year. You will receive an invite to the webinar in the coming weeks. Plus, every single month, as you know that's 12 months in the year, the AmeriCorps VISTA program offers you webinars on a wide range of topics related to life as a VISTA. For example, webinars on living on the living allowance or learning how to use the Siegel AmeriCorps Education Award. We also offer webinars on topics related to the work of VISTA, such as building a digital ad campaign and strategizing your funding search. We do record these sessions and offer them as webinars on demand, so if you happen to miss a session, you can always go back and watch it at any time.
We also offer 2 optional courses to VISTA members, one on volunteer mobilization and one on resource development. The courses combine the training you received during PSO with live webinars, online discussion groups, readings, and assignments. The courses are free, and if you pass, you can receive college credit recommendations. These 2 courses are not part of the PSO blend, but they're available for you to apply for free if interested, and they can help you with your VAD and your professional development goals. So if you're interested, click Apply Now since space is limited, and you're going to receive an email when the next round of course offerings is available, which is slated for the winter of 2018. And I can definitely speak to the resource development course during my VISTA year. It was very, very helpful to me in my grant writing that I had to do. The Member Handbook is one place that you can reference for VISTA policy, including terms and conditions, laws and regulations, and more. You'll want to review and be familiar with these policies. As you look at the handbook, the left column shows you or allows you to quickly find a specific chapter. If you have not done so already, take a little time to familiarize yourself with the information in this member handbook. So let's have a quick pop quiz. Post in the chat now if you think you know how much leave VISTA members receive for their full year of service. This information is in the member handbook, and it is important for you to know how much leave you have and how to record your hours and leave with your supervisor. All right, it looks like everyone knows. As we look at the responses coming in, it looks like people have the general idea. The official answer is that you receive 10 sick days, which you can be used if you're actually sick, and 10 personal days, which can be used as vacation or as additional sick time if needed, and 5 emergency days that are only available if someone in your immediate family passes away or is seriously ill. All leave requests must be approved by your supervisor. I suggest you request it in writing so that it's tracked, and you should also let your state office know. As a VISTA member, there are many benefits available during your year of service, and some available to you after you complete your service. As you've seen, this page of the VISTA campus contains an overview of almost all of your benefits. Some benefits, such as the living allowance, are available to all VISTA members. Other benefits may only be useful for some of you, such as child care assistance. We will now take a look at a few of these that tend to generate questions from VISTA members. Your PSO Blend workbook was sent to you last week, and the link to the workbook has been posted in the chat. We recommend keeping this workbook handy and taking notes in it throughout the PSO Blend, as we will reference various pages in the upper right corner of the screen. It's also really helpful to have this workbook available during your service, as it provides quite a bit of detail about your benefits and your terms and conditions of service. Also, we will be pausing to take questions after each benefit topic we discuss. In order to help us answer all of your questions, please type your questions in the Q&A section so we can queue them up to be answered.
So, you're probably wondering when you'll receive your first living allowance payment. So the question is, when will you be getting your first full payment? We all know VISTA members like money, and we like to give out money to VISTAs. So let's see if anyone has a really quick response to that as we move forward to looking at what your actual first living allowance pay date is. And it looks like the answers coming in, almost all of them are correct. You will be getting paid on December 15th, 2017. That is your scheduled first pay date, unless you are paid by grant. And if you are paid by grant, you will need to check with your supervisor for your pay date. Please note that even though we do issue the payment on December 15th, the date the money shows up in your bank account is actually up to your bank. The reason is you are starting service in the middle of a pay period, so the living allowance you will receive on December 15th will actually be for 13 days of service. After that, you will receive pay for a normal 14-day pay period on December 29th and every 2 weeks into the future. Please note that if you were approved to relocate for your service, your settling and allowance will be included along with your first living allowance payment on December 15th. The living allowance schedule can be found on page 25 of your PSO Blend workbook, as well as on the VISTA campus, and we'll post the link in the chat. You are paid every 2 weeks, which is not the same as twice a month. With your monthly amount, you can do the math to determine how much will appear in your bank account every 2 weeks before taxes. Because state taxes are not deducted, you do need to determine what you owe to the state you are a resident of. We suggest you check with your state's tax office to figure that out. If you don't know what the amount of your living allowance is, you should definitely be sure to ask your VISTA supervisor first. If for some reason they do not know, you can certainly reach out to your corporation's state office, or as last resort, call the National Service Hotline in that order. You can also view the living allowance rates by county document on the VISTA campus to determine your living allowance amount using the county where you are serving. And you can always access your living allowance statements in my.americorps.gov. From the benefits page on the campus, you can access the living allowance page. If you click on the Resources tab, you'll find resources and more information about your living allowance and learn how to live on the living allowance. There are resources for you to help cut costs, provide you tips on how to live on the living allowance, and calculate your own budget. VISTA members also discuss how to manage a budget, save money, and capitalize on valuable resources on the VISTA campus forums. This, once again, highlights the important support you can provide to each other. A very important note, you are paid through direct deposit, which means that the money automatically appears in your bank account every 2 weeks. Please make sure that you entered your bank account and routing numbers correctly in my.americorps.gov. Otherwise, your living allowance will not arrive, and it could be several weeks before you are paid. The routing number and account number are on your checks, and they may also be found on your bank's website, but please make sure you select the correct one and call them if you need to, because there are multiple routing numbers and you want to use the correct one. And you probably already know this already, but just a reminder, the account number on your debit or credit card is not your checking account number or routing number, so don't enter those in MyAmericorps. Remember, only you can check to make sure that you correctly entered your specific routing and account numbers. We've had people who were certain they entered it correctly and then later realized they entered the wrong bank account number or that they did not use the correct routing number. I would strongly recommend that after this webinar, you verify that the information is correct so you can get paid on time. Also, related to your living allowance, we do typically get a lot of questions about public assistance, and we wanted to give you some information about this. If you do apply now or at any time during your service year to enroll in SNAP, formerly known as food stamps, your living allowance and other VISTA payments will be counted as income in calculating your eligibility and benefit level. SNAP is a federal benefit not administered by the AmeriCorps VISTA program, so they have their own rules and regulations that factor in eligibility. For most other public assistance benefits, if you are applying for new benefits, your living allowance should not be factored in when determining the level of benefits you receive. If you were already receiving SNAP, the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, TANF, Temporary Assistance for Needy Families, or LIHEAP, the Low-Income Heating and Energy Assistance Program, or other public assistance benefits prior to enrolling in the VISTA program, your living allowance or any other payments you receive from the VISTA program should not affect the level of assistance you receive. And just remember, public benefits are managed by state or local entities, and the Corporation for National and Community Service is not involved in how they are administered. So you'll want to be sure to speak to a caseworker for advice. In about a week, you will be able to print a service letter from your my.americorps.gov account that will cite the authority for what we call income disregard. We've just reviewed a lot of information regarding the living allowance that you'll receive during your service. Remember to refer to the benefits page of the VISTA campus for more details about any of your benefits. We know we've probably generated a few questions about this specific benefit, so we will pause to take a few of them now. As we do go through the presentation, we will answer a few questions on each subject, understanding that we may not be able to get to all of the questions in the time allotted. I will briefly ask our operator, Jennifer, to give us instructions on how to ask a question by phone. Jennifer?
Thank you. If you would like to ask a question by phone, please press star and the number 1. Please make sure to unmute your phone so you can record your name at the prompt. Again, that is star 1 for any questions from the phone.
And as we wait to see if there's questions on the phone, remember that you can continue to submit your questions online in the webinar through the Q&A panel to make sure that all of our presenters and panelists can see the questions. If you do not see the Q&A panel, look in the upper right corner of the screen and click on Q&A.
Thank you, Eric. So we do have a couple of questions coming in here. The first question that came in was, I have a question. Why are we getting paid for 13 days when we're going to have worked 15 days by the time the check day comes? So let's briefly just go over why your first living allowance payment is only for, X amount of days. So as Eric mentioned, you're starting in the middle of a pay period. So your first day of service is the 27th. So that was Monday. That was your first day of service. That current pay period that you're going to be serving in started on the 26th. So it's from the 26th through the 9th, and so you're not serving all the days in that pay period. So that's why you're only getting paid for 13 days of pay instead of for the full 14. The pay period is from 11/26 to 12/9, so that's when you're paid on that first one. We posted the link to the VISTA Living Allowance schedule on the VISTA campus as well as in your workbook. So you can take a look at that and see what the pay period dates range from and then what that pay date is that's associated with those pay dates. So hopefully that answers your question. Let's see, Eric, we have a question that came in over the phone. I'm going to send it right over to you. The question is, what is the point of the letter for income disregard?
Great question. So going back to one thing I mentioned a little bit earlier, if you are receiving any public benefits separate from SNAP prior to joining VISTA, if you are already receiving public benefits prior to joining your VISTA position, then the income disregard letter would be what you would provide those agencies to show them that the legal language in that letter that shows that your VISTA living allowance and benefits should not count against the public benefits you're already receiving. So it literally is to show that your VISTA income should be disregarded in counting against those other benefits. But again, you'll have access to that in about a week, and you'll be able to print it directly from your my.americorps.gov website.
Thank you, Eric. So another question, there's actually two, so let's answer them both. It's about state taxes. So about the living allowance, we have to pay the taxes ourselves, or is it not taken out? So federal taxes are withheld from your living allowance payments, but state taxes are not. You are still responsible for state taxes, so you want to work with your local state tax board to determine what your level of responsibility in taxes is come tax time. The question about, hey, is there any way to set up just having state taxes deducted from my living allowance? Unfortunately, no. There's not a way in our system to set up to have state taxes automatically taken out. We would love it if that were possible. It would make your lives a lot easier, but unfortunately there's not a way to do that. But thank you for that question. Let's go to Jennifer on the phone real quick. Jennifer, any questions coming in over the phone?
We just had one come in. Let me grab the name real quick. I'll be right back.
Thank you. All right.
Okay, this question is from Paige. Paige, your line is open.
Hi, Paige.
Hi. So I was just wondering, do we get paid for sick and personal days?
Thank you for that question. Yes. So you do get paid for sick and personal days. So as we said, you have 10 or as you all said, you have 10 personal days and 10 sick days. If you take, a week of personal leave off, you're still paid for those days. You're paid for 365 days of service.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Paige.
No other questions from the phone at this time.
Thank you. So, Eric, do you see any other questions coming in here?
I see a couple related to other topics we'll cover in a little bit later in the presentation. I'm just quickly checking to see if there's any more on living allowance.
All right, yeah. And make sure once again, make sure if you're going to ask a question to put it in the Q&A box. I know the chat's simple to do, but we want to be able to track the questions that come in. Sarah here asked a question about income disregard in the service letters. So as Eric mentioned, you don't have access to those letters right now. You swore in on Monday. You submitted your oaths. Hopefully, most of you have submitted your oaths by now to the VISTA Member Support Unit, and they will go ahead and activate you for service. You won't have access to that letter until they activate you, which can take about a week. So in about a week from now, you can log into your MyAmericorps account, and you'll have access to those letters. Once again, I'm going to go over to Jennifer on the phone really quickly. Jennifer, any other questions coming in over the phone?
No questions.
All right. Eric, do you see any others about living allowance?
There's one that I'm going to answer in the chat, so I think we can go ahead and move on.
Wonderful. Well, thank you, Eric. So keep those questions coming, but now we're going to move on to everyone's favorite topic, and that is good old health care. We understand that health care is an important topic and that we all have different needs around health care. So we're going to give you an overview of what the VISTA health care benefits are, and then we'll answer general questions. But to protect your privacy, we will refer specific questions to our benefits provider. So to get us started, we have an anonymous poll to give us a sense of what type of health coverage you have. We will leave the poll open for a few seconds after we finish explaining it. And if you're on a smartphone or tablet, you will not be able to do the poll, which is not a problem. So here's the poll. Choose the one that best applies to your situation. I have my own private insurance coverage. I'm covered through my parent or spouse's plan. I have Medicaid, Medicare, or a tribal plan. I'm covered by VA, TRICARE, or another plan for veterans. I don't have coverage and I need to get it, or other. Maybe you don't fall into any of those. So take a couple seconds, about 10 seconds to submit your responses, and then we're going to close the poll. As we said, we know that you all each have your own individual healthcare needs. Some people are very experienced in navigating the healthcare industry, while others don't even know how it works or why it's important, which is fine. Healthcare can be confusing. So the VISTA healthcare benefits are evaluated on an ongoing basis to determine if anything needs to be or can be changed. So your responses to polls such as this are very helpful to us, though they don't guarantee any changes, but it is helpful to kind of get a pulse of our incoming members. So the poll has ended, and let's take a look and see what everyone is saying about health coverage and what kind of coverage they have. This is always the most difficult part for me. It's like watching paint dry. All right. It looks like the majority of you are covered under a parent or spouse's plan, followed very closely by Medicaid, Medicare, or a tribal plan. And then the next one is I don't have coverage and need to get it. And then a lot of you have not answered. So hopefully, please engage with us. We want to hear from you. So now we're going to move on. Now that we kind of know where everyone stands, we want to talk about the Affordable Care Act and AmeriCorps VISTA Healthcare Plan. So the Affordable Care Act governs access to health care and insurance, and its provisions apply to everyone, including you as a VISTA member. You are required to have health insurance unless you are exempt. And what makes someone exempt? Exemptions are available based on a number of circumstances, including certain hardships, some life events, health coverage or financial status, and membership in some groups. To find out if you qualify for an exemption, go to healthcare.gov and search exemptions. Most of you are probably required to have, required by the Affordable Care Act to have health coverage, and based on what you said in the poll, it looks like the majority of you already do, but there are quite a number of you that probably need to get it. So let's discuss how you enroll in these plans. We're going to walk through some steps to help you determine which benefit plan applies to you. So the first question is, are you required by the Affordable Care Act to have health coverage? Most people are, but some, depending on total household income and other factors, are exempt from that requirement. And how can you find out? Go to healthcare.gov, answer some questions to determine if you're exempt. If you are, you'll receive an exemption number from healthcare.gov. VISTAs who are exempt are eligible to enroll in the VISTA Health Benefit Plan, which we're going to describe in a few minutes. In the next 2 weeks or so, everyone here will get an email from a company called IMG, or International Medical Group, with instructions on how to enroll in one of the VISTA Health benefits. You won't be able to sign up until you have that email, so just keep an eye out for it. So while some of you may be exempt, most VISTAs are more than likely required to have health coverage, so let's explore that option a bit. If you're required by the Affordable Care Act to have insurance, the next question is, do you have it? If you don't have insurance, then you need to get covered, and the way to do that is to go to healthcare.gov and sign up for coverage. While you're waiting for that coverage to kick in, you can enroll in the VISTA Health Benefit Plan for up to 60 days. The first step is to go to healthcare.gov, review the plans that are available to you, and enroll in one right away. It can take several weeks for your application to go through and your coverage to start, so don't wait to do this. Do this now. Then, after you do that, in the next 2 weeks or so, you're going to get that email from IMG with instructions on how to enroll in one of the VISTA Health benefits. There, you're going to indicate that you will need to get coverage so that you would like to enroll in the VISTA Health Benefit Plan for 60 days while you're getting that coverage. When your new coverage takes effect, you're going to update your enrollment with IMG and switch to the other benefit plan, which is called the VISTA Healthcare Allowance. So let's look at the third possibility. You're required by law to have health coverage, and you already do. Woohoo! Health coverage includes being covered on your parents' or spouse's plan. Also, if you are covered by Medicare, Medicaid, TRICARE, or other veteran care, you are considered to have health insurance or health coverage. If you have health coverage, this is what you need to do. Once you get that email from IMG, you're going to enroll in the VISTA Healthcare Allowance and provide the details of the health coverage you have. They're going to need proof of insurance because that's what you need to enroll in that plan. So I've been talking about the VISTA Health Benefit Plan, and I've been talking about the VISTA Healthcare Allowance. But what on earth are these plans? Well, let's go and talk about that now. So first, for those of you that have health coverage and are eligible or are required to have health insurance and have it, you are eligible to enroll in the VISTA Healthcare Allowance, which provides reimbursement of up to $7,150 for qualifying healthcare expenses. This is limited to essential benefits, so elective or cosmetic procedures may not be covered. This allowance is $7,150 because it is the maximum out-of-pocket expense that any American will incur in 2017. You can use this allowance to pay for co-payments for your office visits. You can use it for prescriptions, your annual deductible or co-insurance costs. You can use it for routine dental coverage, such as oral exams, x-rays, fillings, for routine vision coverage, like an annual eye exam or a complete pair of glasses. One thing to note is that this allowance will not reimburse you for the cost of buying insurance. So it won't cover your premiums. So if you sign up for, just say, Blue Cross, if each month your Blue Cross insurance charges you $100, you can't use the allowance to reimburse you for that cost. And the allowance cannot be used to reimburse medical expenses for anyone other than you. So this is a single coverage plan. It's not a family plan. It's only for you. Remember, you're going to get an email from IMG in the next couple of weeks with instructions on how to enroll. You won't be able to enroll until you have that email, so keep an eye out. The other health benefit that we offer is for those that are exempt from the Affordable Care Act, which means that they're not legally required to have health coverage. This doesn't mean they just don't want health coverage. And this is also what you would enroll in when you're in the process of getting the required health coverage. So the health benefit plan is a safety net plan that covers basic healthcare services. It covers many services like office visits, lab tests, x-rays, and prescriptions. It also can cover ER visits and hospitalization when needed. It can also cover routine dental and vision services already mentioned. It's designed to have low copays and low out-of-pocket costs, but there are limits on what is covered. Both of these benefits, the healthcare allowance and the health plan, are administered by International Medical Group. To receive a benefit, you must enroll in the plan on IMG's website, which is AmericorVista.imglobal.com. And you have to do that within 60 days of starting VISTA. There is no automatic enrollment. There is a deadline to do it. You have 60 days to do it, and you have to make a selection. Remember, other health coverage applications and even applications for exemptions can take weeks or months to be processed. So if you need to get other coverage, you need to start that process right now because you don't want to be past our deadline and not able to enroll. So, Eric, Anne, that was a mouthful. That was a lot about healthcare because healthcare is an important topic. And I'm sure that you still have a lot of questions. There is a lot of information about healthcare in the benefits page of the VISTA campus, but we also know that you probably have questions right now. So we're going to take a brief moment and answer some of the questions you have around healthcare. I'm not going to ask our operator to come on the line, but if you do have a question that you would like to answer over the phone, you need to call the number at the bottom of the screen, press *1 and state your name so that you can be queued up to ask a question over the phone. But I'm going to turn it over to Eric. Any questions that you saw?
Yes, thank you, Jessica. So one easy question that I think we can answer right away is, what constitutes proof of coverage for having insurance?
Thanks, Eric. So what is proof of coverage? It's more than likely going to be a copy of your insurance card. That is more than likely what it's going to be. You can always contact IMG, the International Medical Group, and they will be able to let you know what kinds of proof they would need. But it's more than likely going to be a copy of your insurance card. Great. And I'll quickly answer Andrew's question. Do you need to sign up for something to receive this IMG email? No. As Jessica said, the International Medical Group will be emailing everyone once they download the information, so you don't need to sign up to receive the email. But as Jessica said, you do need to sign up once you get the email, enroll in one of the benefits so you can actually make your health care selection. Thank you, Eric. I also did see a question here from Sarah. She asked, Does the benefit cover mental health support? So thank you for that question, Sarah. The Affordable Care Act states that mental health coverage is an essential benefit, and what that means is that all insurances have to have mental health coverage. So if you have insurance, it's going to have mental health coverage, and you'll want to research and see what that coverage is. If it's essential benefits in your insurance, then then it can be reimbursed. I'm sorry, I'm losing my train of thought there. Then it can be reimbursed. Like your copays, if you go and see somebody, can be reimbursed with that healthcare allowance. For those of you that are legally exempt and would enroll in our VISTA Health Benefit Plan, we do offer 3 mental health visits a year if you're on the benefit plan. So we do offer support for mental health. All right, Anne, do you see any questions coming in?
Let's see here.
We're trying to get through all of these, so we want to make sure we answer them all.
A lot of people are asking again about an IMG link. Just to reiterate what Eric and Jessica said, you will be receiving an email from IMG. So if you go onto the website now, you are not going to be able to make a selection.
Thanks, Anne. I also see here a couple of questions. And Eric, you just answered the one I was going to read out loud, but I think it's a fair question. People are asking, what does this cost monthly? Good news, you don't get charged for our benefit. So we're not going to deduct anything out of your living allowance. We're not going to bill you after service. Our benefit plan doesn't cost you anything. The only thing that you're going to have to pay for is if you have other health coverage or, health insurance, and then you have to pay your premiums, that you're going to have to pay. But the VISTA program doesn't charge you for these benefits. And another question, and it's a good point. It is one or the other. So you either have health insurance and you choose the allowance, or you are legally exempt and you have the health benefit plan. You can have both, and if you're legally required to have health insurance and you don't have health insurance, you can't get on the health benefit plan because it's only for those that are legally exempt from having to have health insurance. All right, Eric, do you see any other questions?
I just see one that seems to be coming up, and it's relating to if you are one of the VISTAs who happens to be turning 26, happy birthday, in the middle of your year of service, although it could be any day. If you turn 26 and you go off your parents' insurance, does this mean I will be no longer be covered by my parents' insurance, and should I enroll now or wait until I'm no longer covered? So our recommendation in the situation usually is if you know you're going to be getting off of your parents or any insurance, first, go to the healthcare.gov/exemptions website to see if you happen to maybe be exempt from having to have insurance. And if that's the case, then as Jessica said, you could join our health benefit plan. But if you are not exempt, then at least now, while you still have insurance, you can go ahead and still start researching your options through the healthcare.gov website so that when you do turn 26, you should have a little to zero gap in coverage, and it's hopefully a seamless transition. But I would say at least start the research now so you're prepared and don't get penalized by the Affordable Care Act.
Thank you, Eric. And one other thing, I see a couple of confusing questions, not confusing to me, but there's some confusion I can sense in the group. I mentioned a lot here that you have to wait for that IMG email to select one of our benefits. That's to select the VISTA benefit. So whether you are exempt and choose the health benefit plan or you have insurance and you want to select the allowance, you do not have to wait to get that email from IMG to start researching your options on healthcare.gov. You should do that, not right now because you're in the webinar, but you should do that right after this webinar. Start looking at that. You don't need that email to start looking at healthcare.gov. You should do it as soon as possible. It doesn't prevent you from doing that, but you won't have access to make your selection in the IMG site until you get that email. But healthcare.gov is open 24 hours. Jennifer, do we have any questions coming in over the phone?
No questions from the phone.
Thank you. Eric or Ann, do you see any others that are coming up here?
The final one that I see is, looks like we've answered a lot of them, but it's by Katie. I'm covered by my spouse's work plan, but he has to pay extra for me because I'm not employed. Can I apply the allowance to this cost? So the healthcare allowance that we were talking about, the up to $71.50, that's only available to you. So you'd have to have your own insurance with your own insurance card, and that cost could go towards your situation as long as you have your own insurance.
Thank you, Eric. So we'll leave it at that. As we said, we're still going to be going through the chat and answering questions as they come in, but we now want to move on to everyone's second favorite topic. Eric, you got everyone's least favorite topic, living allowance. No, I'm just kidding. Now we're going to take the first or second or whatever favorite topic, and that's Ann. Ann, will you please tell people about their end-of-service benefit?
Sure. So after successfully completing your service, you are eligible for one end-of-service benefit, the Siegel Education Award or the cash stipend. Important note, the word stipend is usually in reference to the end-of-service cash stipend benefit, whereas your biweekly pay is referred to as your living allowance. You receive one of these end-of-service benefits in addition to, not deducted from, your biweekly living allowance. So let's talk about the Education Award. The Education Award is currently valued at $5,920. The Education Award is good for 7 years after completing service. It's taxable in the calendar year that it's used, or years that it's used. You can use all of your Education Award at once if you wish, but you can also use it incrementally. If you select the Education Award in about a week, you will have a new link in your my.americorps.gov account labeled My Education Award, where you'll see details of and submit Education Award payment requests at the end of your year of service. The award can be used to pay off federal loans or to pay for education at any Title IV institution, which is an institution that accepts federal funds. You would submit all of the Education Award payments through your my.americorps.gov account. If you selected the Education Award and are interested in furthering your education, you should definitely check out the list of institutions that match the Education Award or provide another benefit to AmeriCorps VISTA alumni. The cash stipend is currently valued at $1,800. The cash stipend is paid out via direct deposit at the very end of your service, and the cash stipend is taxable in the calendar year that it is received. Remember, if you selected the Education Award now and you want to change it to the cash stipend, you can at any time prior to your 10th month of service. But if you've selected the cash stipend, at this time you are unable to change your selection. Related to the end-of-service benefit is student loans. There are ways that you can postpone repayment of federally backed student loans during your year of service. If you choose the Education Award, you can request federal loan forbearance, which means that upon approval, you are not required to make monthly loan payments during your service year. Also, if you complete your term, you can request the National Service Trust to pay off the interest that your loan accrued for the year. Be aware that the interest payment is considered taxable income. Forbearance is processed through the My Education Award link that will appear in your my.americorps.gov account in about 1 or 2 weeks. Forbearance is not guaranteed, and you must initiate the process by submitting a loan forbearance request in your my.americorps.gov account. If you've selected the end-of-service stipend, you may request loan deferment by applying to your lender given the reason of economic hardship. For federally subsidized loans, accrued interest may be paid by the Department of Education if the loan is deferred. Check with your lender for specifics. Not all lenders may offer loan deferment, and for those that do, the loan deferment is not always guaranteed. Perkins loans may be partially forgiven if the VISTA member elects to receive the cash stipend, and you can go to edaward.org to learn more. I'll briefly mention 2 more programs to consider to help you manage your student loans, and please note that you may be able to do both at the same time. First is income-based repayment, which adjusts your monthly payments based on your income. As a VISTA member, your payments will be pretty low and can be as low as $0. It won't reduce the amount that you have to pay back, but it will shrink your monthly payments to a manageable account. This income-based repayment plan is something that you would have to set up directly with your loan lender. The other strategy works really well in concert with the first. So this is the Public Service Loan Forgiveness Program, or PSLF. Are any of you with federal direct loans considering working in the nonprofit, government, association, or education sectors? If so, you'll want to learn about this program. If you work for a minimum of 10 years in public service positions and make 120 qualified on-time payments during this time, your loan lender determines what is considered qualified payment. Any balance on your federal loans is forgiven after making 120 qualified on-time payments. You apply for this at the end of the 120 payments, but you'll want to learn now about the type of records that you need to keep in order to apply. Of course, there's lots of details to both of these that you can learn more about at the nationalservice.gov page on the Education Award. For more details on everything we just covered, go to the Education Award tutorial, which is on nationalservice.gov, and then go to my.americorps.gov to submit your federal loan forbearance request with CNCS. Remember that it is your responsibility to submit the forbearance request and check on its status. At the end of your year, it's also your responsibility to submit any Education Award payment requests as well as interest accrual payment requests. Whew. While we reviewed a lot of information regarding the Education Award and student loans, remember to refer to the benefits page of the VISTA campus for more details about any of your benefits. We probably have a lot of questions on the Ed Award and student loans, so we'll pause to take some of them now. Remember, you can call the number on the slide and press *1 to call in to ask a question and continue to submit them into the Q&A panel.
Thanks, Anne. Anne, thank you for all that wonderful education and cash stipend information. So we do have a few questions coming into the chat. There are questions about transferability of the Education Award. So some of you had mentioned, hey, maybe I don't want to go back to school. Can I gift this to my children or my grandchildren? Unfortunately, the answer to that is no. The Education Award earned by VISTA members is non-transferable. Other programs do have certain requirements that allow you to transfer your Ed Award, but the VISTA program does not. So if you have an Education Award, it can only be used for you and your loans. Thank you for that question, though. Another question is, as Anne mentioned, there's a question about an expiration date of the Education Award. The Education Award is good for 7 years after you end service. So you all are going to end service in 2018. So your education is good until 2025. So yeah, you do have 7 years to use it. So make sure you do it. Eric, do you see any questions in here?
One question is, will we ever be able to switch from the stipend to the Education Award? The answer is no. Since you are now officially in service, if you have the Education Award, you have until the end of your 10th month of service to switch to the cash stipend. But if you currently have the cash stipend, you will not be able to switch to the Education Award.
That's right. Let's look at here. Jennifer, any questions that are coming on over the phone?
We do have a question from the phone. This comes from Doreen. Your line is open.
Hello, Doreen.
Hi. I have two different kinds of loan where I want to consolidate it. Do I still qualify for the public service loan? The forbearance request. Do I still qualify for forbearance?
So that's going to be something all with your lender. So, because the loans are managed at a lender level, the lenders have full authority to either approve or deny forbearance. So, if your loan is federally backed and you selected the Education Award, then yes, you may be able to put your loan into forbearance. You would want to talk to your lender to say, hey, I'm an AmeriCorps member. I want to put my loan in forbearance. Would you approve my forbearance? Have that conversation with them.
Okay.
If you're planning to subsidize your loans, that's a whole different conversation to have with them. I don't know if you're planning to subsidize them before you, like right now, and then put your loans in forbearance, or you're trying to do that afterwards. You want to have a conversation with them about that because that could change things, but yeah. Around forbearance. With regard to public service loan forgiveness, you're going to want to check the public service loan forgiveness website. They have very specific requirements of like what types of loans, what the if it's subsidized or unsubsidized. They have a lot of requirements around what types of loans are eligible to be forgiven after 10 years. So definitely check that out. I definitely don't want to mislead you, and they're going to be the ones that have all that information.
So, okay, my other question is, what about if I consolidate my loan?
If you do or you don't?
If I do.
I'm not a loan expert. I'm not a student loan expert. I don't want to give you misinformation. If you consolidate your loans and you want to put your loan in forbearance, you have to talk to your lender about that because they're going to be the ones who do that full approval of your forbearance. If you consolidate your loans and you want to apply for public service loan forgiveness, you're going to want to look to see if your loan is eligible, if it needs to be subsidized, if it should remain unsubsidized, consolidated, so you're going to want to talk to them because loans are so nuanced, they're so different person to person that there's not a general answer that I can give.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Doreen.
Jessica, I did see a question that came in that would probably apply to a lot of people in that, and now I can't find it, but it basically had to do with, are we eligible to transfer the education award to someone else as a VISTA? Oh, well, in case for the people that missed it, the answer is no. As a VISTA member, the education award is only available to you.
I saw a question about, I can't find it now, but someone asked if they had to use their education award as a lump sum or if it could be broken up. You can definitely break it up. It doesn't have to be used all at once.
That's right, and you can use your student loans in fun ways, or not student. You can use your student loans in fun ways. And it said no one ever. I meant you can use your education award in fun ways. Maybe you don't have student debt, which you're lucky. Maybe you don't want to go to grad school, or you don't have a use of that education award, but you want to, you still want that. You may be able to study abroad. You may be able to take classes at a local community college that are, pottery, theater. You can use it in a lot of fun ways. So the sky's almost the limit when it comes to the education award and its uses.
There's an old webinar we have. I think it's called Using Your Siegel Education Award. That's on the VISTA campus. Definitely check it out. You can learn stories about how different VISTA alums use their award.
That's right. And as Ann mentioned earlier, because there's a few questions about how to access the education award. So when you're in service, there's going to be, in about a week or so, once you're fully activated in our system, there's going to be a link in your My AmeriCorps account that says My Education Award. That's where you can go ahead and put your loans in forbearance. And then when you end service, that's the same place that you're going to be able to access the education award to make payments and all of those sorts of things. So keep an eye out for that in about a week or a week or so, I should say. All right. So Jennifer, are there any questions coming in over the phone?
I show no questions.
Great. So we're going to switch gears here. We are still going to be answering questions in the chat. Not in the chat, in the Q&A. So please, if you have questions, please put them in the Q&A. We would love to be able to manage both the Q&A and the chat to answer your questions, but it's unmanageable. So please help us. There's 5 of us and 250 of you. So please put your stuff in the Q&A. We're now going to move on to our next section of the webinar, which is going to be just kind of looking at the My AmeriCorps account. We've talked to you about the benefits. We've mentioned some of them to you. So we just want to take a look at what your account looks like and point out a few important items. So if you relocated to serve, please make sure to update your address by clicking Edit My Contact Information. Also, please make sure that the email address you use and that you have in your My AmeriCorps account is one that you check on a regular basis and that's entered correctly. I got a lot of bounce back emails from you all because like a letter was missing or they were inverted digits. Also, I've gotten some bounce backs because your .edu school email address has probably expired. So please put an email address in there that you're going to check and that's going to stay active. We send out a lot of important communications via email, so please make sure that that's up to date. So looking at the left-hand tab, there is the My Living Allowance link. You'll be able to access and print your biweekly living allowance statements from here. I sent an email to all of you who are paid by a grant, and if you are paid by a grant, you can ask your supervisor how to get your earnings statements. You can click on My Tax Statements to access your W-2 wage statement at the come tax season. And then when you use your education award, a 1099 miscellaneous form will pop up there in the year that you use it. So keep an eye out for that. My Service Letters is where you're going to access 3 service letters during your VISTA service that just certify that you're a VISTA member. There's also one that defines income disregard and more to use when applying for public assistance. So you'll have access to that here in about a week. And if you selected the Education Award, you'll also have a My Education Award link, as I mentioned. That's where you're going to put those forbearance requests and then later submit those Education Award and interest accrual payment requests. So keep an eye on that. And Anne's going to tell us where to get some more benefits questions answered.
Thanks, Jessica. If you have additional questions about your benefits at any time during your service, the VISTA Member Support Unit, or VMSU, is who you call regarding benefits, help with my.americorps.gov, and general assistance. To reach the VMSU, you need to contact the National Service Hotline, which you can see their information on this slide. So we've covered a lot of information, and it's likely that you will have questions in the coming weeks. So keep this contact information where you can find it, and this information can also be found on the VISTA campus.
Dun, 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 dun. We know that you did the terms and conditions online, but we want to make sure everyone is clear on the conditions. So we're going to do a quick interactive activity to review the main conditions of AmeriCorps VISTA service, where VISTA members tend to have the most questions. So we will now read off a series of statements and scenarios. Please use the same annotation tools we used earlier on the map to place your arrow either in the yes or the no section of the screen after we read the statement. And as you can see on the screen, the first statement is, I can voice my political opinion using social media where I am identified as an AmeriCorps VISTA member. If you think it's yes or no, select your answer. And I see a few people are trying to cheat the system and put it on the arrow to say they're in the middle. So at least you're not falling off your chair. That was a bad joke.
Wow, they're very confident that it's no.
I know. I usually get at least like a couple yeses, you know.
Oh, there we go, Wilson.
I know.
You do what your heart tells you. Don't fall into peer pressure here.
Ooh, check marks. Nice. Well, it looks like most people are saying no. Wilson says yes. So as we move to the next screen, we'll see what the actual answer is. The answer is yes.
Yay,
so
Wilson.
Congratulations, Wilson. You are allowed to voice political opinions on your own time, but not while serving at your site, nor while using any of the equipment at your site, including their Wi-Fi network. You must keep your political action limited to your off-duty hours and be very, very cautious with any political activity to avoid violating the Hatch Act. You also cannot represent yourself as a spokesperson for AmeriCorps, AmeriCorps VISTA, or the Corporation for National and Community Service, or your project sponsor. So please do not include the VISTA logo on your social media profile if you will be engaging in political activity. If you do have any questions about this, you can read the Hatch Act, that's H-A-T-C-H, the Hatch Act, or contact your state office.
All right, question number 2. I can demonstrate in a political rally, yes or no? All right, I see lots of yeses coming in and a couple of no's.
Yeah, definitely a lot more yes. I feel like this always happens. Like the first one they get all shocked about, like, oh my gosh, it was yes, and then now they're like, I got to overcompensate. Do what your heart tells you, everyone.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's go to the next slide. The answer is yes, as long as you're not identified as a VISTA member or perceived to be a VISTA member. And the perceived to be a VISTA member is really, really, really important. So some of you might be serving in a small town or local area where even if you're not wearing a VISTA polo shirt or any other VISTA gear, people know you as the VISTA member. So when in doubt about a specific activity, consult your state office first.
Thank you, Anne. So question number 3, I can ask people to donate money to a partisan political candidate, as long as it's on my own time and I'm not identified as a VISTA member. Yes or no? All right. So you got a good mix. It looks like yeses are winning out from the no's. All right. All right. Looks like, yeah, definitely the yeses are dominating here. All right, let's get to the answer. Put those arrows away, because the answer to this is no. No, you cannot. Never want to see you put a yes over there again on that one. You cannot raise money on behalf of a partisan political candidate at any time during your year. Doesn't matter if it's off duty, whether you're at home in your PJs watching Stranger Things, or while you're not identified as a VISTA member. The Hatch Act, which all of us are bound by, prohibits all fundraising for partisan political candidates at any time during your service. You can, however, raise funds in support of an issue on your own time, as long as you're not identified as a VISTA member. So, learn something today. Woo!
Nicely done. Next statement, I can join my colleagues in prayer at my service site. For some reason, this statement makes me think, and I can't believe I'm saying this, of Sister Act. When, I think it was Sister Act movie, when they were like, say a little prayer for you. Okay, I'm going to stop singing. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just going to stop singing because I think everyone's going to get really upset with me. But it looks like we have about half and half, yes and no. We're getting some diversity. And so we'll move on to the answer. Survey says, yes, you can. But remember, you cannot proselytize or ask people to pray with you. Also, while your VISTA assignment description should not and cannot ask you to pray, you are free to practice your religion on your own time.
All right, last one. I can have outside employment and or earn additional income while serving as a VISTA member, yes or no?
Like how, oh, Brandon's the outlier. Oh, no, he moved his thing. Never mind.
So much confidence.
All right.
All righty, and the answer is yes, as long as it doesn't conflict with your VISTA service. Outside employment must not conflict with your project, with the project service or service hours, nor conflict with any applicable law or AmeriCorps VISTA program requirements or policies. You may not be employed by your sponsor. So under no circumstances may a VISTA member be an employee of or a contractor for the sponsor or project to which he or she is assigned to serve, or an agency affiliated with your sponsor. And lastly, your supervisor must approve. So the supervisor must agree that the outside work will not interfere with the VISTA project. If work does interfere, the VISTA may be asked to either end the outside employment or end VISTA service. More information regarding outside employment and the policy can be found on the VISTA campus in the link on the slide, and I suggest that you write down the link in case you want to take advantage of the outside employment.
Thank you, Anne. So if you have any questions about what the limitations on political activities are for you as a VISTA member and other regulations and laws regarding your service, such as the Hatch Act, please revisit the Terms and Conditions course and view Chapter 14 of the VISTA Member Handbook. It kind of lays out, like, VISTA members cannot, and then they give you bullets, and, like, can give you bullets. It's kind of a nice way to look at it. So definitely check that out.
Okay, so moving from what is expected of you, let's talk about your rights and your responsibilities. Prior to starting service, you should have taken the Civil Rights and Responsibilities course on the VISTA campus. To briefly recap the course, if you believe that you have experienced or witnessed discrimination or harassment, and if you feel safe and comfortable doing so, you should approach and talk to the person you suspect of engaging in harassing or discriminating behavior directly yourself. If that doesn't work, or if you don't feel safe and comfortable doing so, you can talk to your VISTA supervisor. And if you cannot go to your supervisor, or you do, and the matter is not resolved to your satisfaction, you should contact your state office. Finally, you can contact the corporation's Office of Civil Rights and Inclusiveness, or OCRI.
Also, AmeriCorps VISTA is a federal program, and like anything supported by taxpayer funds, we need to ensure that the program is well run, doing what it's supposed to, and spending money wisely. Like all federal agencies, CNCS has an Inspector General whose office is solely responsible for preventing and detecting waste, fraud, and abuse. So, as you can see on the screen, there are a few red flags to be aware of. 1, if you are being asked to take over the work of someone who left, that's considered replacing staff, and it is not allowed. 2, if most of what you're doing is administrative support for someone else, that's also not appropriate work for a VISTA member. You as a VISTA should be focusing on the things outlined in your VAD, which ties directly to the overall project plan that was approved by the Corporation for National and Community Service. And 3, finally, the majority of your work should be capacity building, not direct service. You will be learning more about what these look like in the coming days. If you do feel that you are being asked to do anything that is not appropriate for VISTA members, first, talk about it with your supervisor. Make sure to let them know what's going on. From there, you can talk directly with your corporation state office, and if the issue still is not resolved, or if you for whatever reason wish to remain anonymous, you may contact the CNCS Office of Inspector General.
Thank you, Eric. So everyone needs support, no matter the strongest person in the world or someone who needs a lot of support. So we want to just tell you where you can find different types of support throughout your service. So this picture here kind of shows the breakdown of where you fit into the overall VISTA program. So you are that VISTA right there on that stoop. Your supervisor, if you have questions, should be the first person you contact. That's for questions related to your VISTA assignment description or your workplace. If your project has a VISTA leader, not all projects do, they can be a resource as well. The Corporation for National and Community Service, CNCS, has representatives in every state and territory, working in what we call corporation state offices. They handle issues related to your VISTA project, your VISTA supervisor, or emergencies that may affect your service. For PSO Blend, you also have your online classroom facilitator, and they are able to provide support to you in completing your PSO Blend assignments. And you'll be getting in contact for them soon if you haven't already. And as we mentioned earlier, the VISTA Member Support Unit, or VMSU for short, helps with questions about benefits. They talk about your benefits. They can answer those questions about your living allowance, education award. They're a great resource as well. And other matters related to your my.americorps.gov account, they can help you with that as well. You can also manage your own support by taking time to navigate vistacampus.gov and my.americorps.gov so that you're familiar with them and know where to go. When in doubt, you can contact the VMSU through the National Service Hotline. The information is on the VISTA campus. You can just search support and keep it where you can find it. So, another thing that's very important to us here in VISTA is we want you to show your VISTA pride. You're a part of a great and wonderful, amazing family of VISTA. And as a VISTA community member, we want you to show your VISTA pride. So, you never know where you're going to make a connection with someone who knows about the program. We want you to feel all geared up to do that. So, put the AmeriCorps VISTA logo on your business card, in your email signature, or on your organization's websites and brochures. The more visible you are, the more support you get, not only for your project and for the AmeriCorps VISTA program as a whole, but also for you. That means more VISTAs and more communities doing the work that we need to get done. The web links in the chat lead to places you can get AmeriCorps VISTA publications and gear to use in your office and represent VISTA in the field. Don't forget to take pictures and share them with us through our Twitter and Facebook accounts. And we may share your story or retweet your photo. Also, once you complete PSO Blend, you're going to receive an email with instructions on how to order your free. Yes, Eric, what did I just say?
Free.
And what did I just say?
Free.
Yep, that's your free VISTA Polo, VISTA lapel pin, and free VISTA reusable tote bag. So you have to complete PSO Blend to get this. If you don't turn in an assignment, if you're late on an assignment, and you never turn it in, you won't get that cool gear. So please, make sure you do that. Make sure you complete Blend so you can get all geared up to serve.
All right, so here are a few reminders about things that you need to do as part of your entry into the VISTA program. Review your VISTA benefits and know how to access them, especially your health care benefit. Make sure you have health care coverage or get documentation of your exemption from this requirement. Do both of these at healthcare.gov. Enroll in a VISTA health benefit option. Remember, you'll be getting an email from IMG with a link to enroll. And get fingerprinted, preferably this week, and submit a criminal history questionnaire if applicable. You should have the fingerprinting materials. If not, get them from your supervisor or have them contact your state office.
And Anne, one other thing I want to remind people of right now, it's not on the screen, but if you have not submitted your oath form yet, you need to do so immediately.
That is correct.
I checked in with the VISTA Member Support Unit. About 50 of you have not turned in your oath form. So if you do not turn in your oath form today, we cannot guarantee you'll get paid on time. We cannot guarantee that your benefits will start on time. So please help us help you and submit that oath form as soon as possible. We did this on Monday. The instructions are at the bottom of the oath. Please let us pay you. I want to pay you. So that's just another reminder. And back to you.
Thanks, Jessica. So here's what's coming next in your online PSO. So this Sunday, your comprehension check quiz, minute intro, how poverty is measured, and the VAD worksheet are due. A week from now, Wednesday, December 6th, you have your first virtual meetup, and then on that Sunday, December 10th, you have 13 lessons about poverty and the community profile due. Wednesday, December 13th, your second virtual meetup, and on Friday, December 15th, your final assignments are due. You have all of these dates listed in your guide to entering VISTA service and in your VISTA classroom, but once again, it is so essential that you put these dates on your calendar because we don't want you to fall behind and not complete PSO Blend, which would result in you being removed from service and not getting any of your awesome free gear. These fieldwork assignments and the virtual meetups will enable you to further understand your service and the VISTA program, how your service fits into poverty, and get to know each other in the meetup.
Thank you, Anne. So it's that time again. We want to know what you thought of this webinar. Really, as I mentioned, your feedback is very important to us. We do take it to heart. We do look at it every time, and we make tweaks for every PSO Blend iteration to make it better. So there is a poll on the right side of your screen. It is an evaluation. Please go ahead and complete that for us. It will really help us. And then we're going to go ahead and get started on some question and answers that you still may have. I'm going to invite Jennifer back again to just remind us one last time on how to ask those questions over the phone.
Thank you. To ask a question from the phone, please press star and the number 1 on your phone. Please make sure to unmute your phone so you can record your name at the prompt. Again, that is star 1 for any questions from the phone.
Thank you so much. So as we wait for questions to be queued up over the phone, I want to ask Eric Powell. Eric, you've been silent for a little bit. Any questions that you've been tracking through the phone?
Yes, and actually one of them, a lot of people are asking, will they get a confirmation that their oath was submitted? The way it works, because there's so many people joining and who submitted their oath, the VISTA Member Support Unit will only contact you, or your state office will only contact you if they did not receive it. So if you haven't heard anything from them, you should be good to go. They'll only contact you if it's missing or if it's illegible. And someone today, Jasmine, asked, where can I find the oath paper? I wish that was a joking question, but we will get our staff to post it in the chat so you can make sure that, as Jessica said, you submit your oath immediately so you can get paid on time. Jessica, here's a question that we can direct to you. The question is, what is the V81 form for under the My and Service Benefits on the myamericorps.gov website?
Thank you, Eric. So the V81 form. The V81 form is to be used only in instances where you are using a project-owned vehicle or a personally owned vehicle during service for service-related activities. It's not for commuting. And if you're in an accident. So it's a very, very specific form. So if you are, going to different sites, there happens to be, a fender bender and you're driving one of their vehicles, that's when you'd fill out that form. It's only in those instances, and it's only then that you would do that. So really, not many of you, if even any of you on this webinar are going to ever have to use that form. But thank you for that question, Serena. But yeah, that's the instances that it's used.
I see a question. What happens if you don't complete all your assignments? If you do not complete all of your assignments for the PSO Blend, you will be terminated from service. If you do not turn in your fingerprints, you will be terminated from service. So please just do all of your assignments and do everything that we require of you.
Exactly. It's just 3 weeks. It's 3 weeks of stuff. We've given you all the dates. Your facilitators are there to help you. We want you to succeed, so we're here to provide that support. Make sure you're checking your emails. Make sure you're looking at what's due. Let us, keep you in service. We want you to do great work, and please let us give you free gear. We can only do that if you do that. So please do that.
Jessica, before we go to Jennifer, there's one other question that I'll turn to you because it's an easy one, and someone asked not only where can they find their VAD assignment, but where do they find all the assignments that they need to submit for the VISTA Classroom?
Thank you, Eric. So all of your assignments can be found in your VISTA Classroom, which Eric just referenced, and it's where you went through the VISTA Classroom to join this webinar today. It's vistaclassroom.educationnorthwest.org is the URL. You'll go there, you'll log in, all your assignments are there. They're broken down by due date, so you'll be able to see what's due this Sunday. You can see what's due, next week, what meetup is happening next week. So all of that is in your VISTA Classroom. That's vistaclassroom.educationnorthwest.org. Thank you for that. So Eric, let's go to Jennifer on the phone. Jennifer, are there any questions coming in over the phone?
We do have a couple on the phone. The first
Wonderful.
one comes from Indigo. Your line is open.
Hey guys, so I just had a piece of feedback before I forgot to put it in the Q&A because I'm just running around. And so it's a question as well. I was curious if you guys have like a PDF of like frequently asked questions that we could refer to.
Is there like around any kind of specific topic or just in general?
Kind of just in general, like sometimes I'll just be looking for a specific link or something like that, especially with like healthcare. Do you have just like a frequently asked questions like PDF that we could just download?
Yeah, so thank you. So I don't say there's nothing like that that we have. We don't really have like, our VISTA campus, we try to lay it out in an intuitive way for people to understand, like, this is the stuff you're going to need for in-service. So we don't have a PDF of frequently asked questions. But if you do have a question, my suggestion is to, you can use the search bar in the VISTA campus. And so if you have a question that day about healthcare or, the V81 form or whatnot, just type that in the search bar and you'll get the results. It's definitely not something we have. It's definitely something that we could look into creating. So I appreciate that feedback. But unfortunately, it's not something that we kind of have set up yet.
Okay, well that is good to know. Yeah, the search bar will be just dandy for me. So.
Good.
I appreciate that. Okay, thank you guys.
Yeah.
The next question from the phone comes from Rebecca. Your line is open.
Hi, Rebecca.
Hi, I was wondering if you could give us an idea about how to access the virtual meetup. I think that might be helpful for a few of us.
Yeah, so your virtual meetups, as I mentioned, are all going to be in the online classroom. So you're going to go to the same online classroom to access that. It's on that first homepage, so you log in, you go to your course, you scroll down, you'll see welcome, and you'll see week 1 webinars, and you'll see virtual meetup meeting room. You'll click the box that says Virtual Meetup Meeting Room, and it's really similar to how you join the webinars today. You're going to say, there's a link that says, click this link to join the virtual meetups. You'll click it, and you'll join it. It's a version of WebEx. It's a little different than this version, but it is a version of the WebEx platform, and you join it the exact same way that you join the webinars.
Great. I was just wondering if there were any technical requirements that we might want to check before being able to do so.
They should all be the same. I'm gonna pick on Scott, who's in the background and wasn't expecting to answer a question. But Scott, there shouldn't be any other technical requirements people should have to test for that would be different from these webinars to the virtual meetup. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct, Jessica. There is one difference. You'll be able to call into the virtual meetups either on the telephone or you can also speak if you have a computer microphone. So on these webinars, you can only listen to audio over the computer. On the meetups, you can also, it's voice over IP, so you can speak as well.
Thank you, Scott. Thank you, Rebecca.
Thank you.
There are no other questions on the phone.
Great. Ann or Eric, any questions that you've seen?
One question, and I don't know if we got to this, but I'll answer it quickly, is are there any restrictions on where the loan payment may be applied? Yes, the loans have to go to a Title IV institution, which is an institution that accepts federal funds. So most institutions of higher education and elsewhere are, but as long as it's a Title IV institution, then it should be all set. Then that's an institution that accepts federal funds.
Great. Thank you, Eric. A couple of questions here. I posted this in there. It looks like someone, Scott or ND, can we please go back to where they show the assignment dates? Someone requested that we put that back there. If you could push the slides back, I think maybe 2, so they can just see the dates on the screen again. I think that'd be helpful. There we go. Thank you so much.
Jessica, I wonder, this is Scott again. May I add one thing to my earlier answer about the meetups?
Of course you can.
So this is not a requirement, but we really encourage you all to join with the webcam as well. It can, it's a much smaller group, and it can make for more engaged experience. So not a requirement, but if you do have access to a webcam, please use those for the meetups as well.
Thank you, Scott. Webcams are fun. You can go ahead and see people. It's a fun thing. Question came in here about where do you submit assignments? Well, it is vistaclassroom.educationnorthwest.org. It's in the same place that you join this meetup. All of your PSO Blend items are going to be done there. Like, that's where you're going to submit everything. That's where you're going to find the assignments. That's where you're going to join the meetups. That's where you're going to connect with one another. That is all the fun stuff in that website. So please make sure to, remember your login for there. Log in often, especially, as you can see, the first assignments are due this Sunday. If your organization kind of adheres to what is considered like a normal work schedule, which is like Monday through Friday, some of these assignments do require supervisor input. So you need to work with your supervisor before you go for the weekend. So make sure that you look at those assignments now, start working on those now, because you don't want to, open it at Sunday at 10 p.m. and then realize, oh, I can't turn in my assignment because I don't have my supervisor here with me. So take a look at those now, and your facilitators are there to help you as well. Let's take a look. Jennifer, any other questions that have come in over the phone?
No questions at this time.
Wonderful. Anne, do you see any other questions coming in?
I don't.
All right. What about you, Eric?
I think we're good.
All right. Well, with that, we're going to leave you with one other thing. Eric, because you joined us last minute, because Eric is a lifesaver on this webinar, and because he's just a great human, I need Eric to read this last Lyndon Johnson quote, but I will not make you do it in the accent.
That's so kind of you. Thank you, Jessica. Thank you, Anne. Thank you to everyone on this webinar. And let me just end with this quote. Your pay will be low. The conditions of your labor will often be difficult, but you will have the satisfaction of leading a great national effort, and you will have the ultimate reward, which comes to those who serve their nation and who serve their fellow man. Thank you very much.
Thank you all once again. On behalf of the AmeriCorps VISTA program, thank you for what you're about to do this year. We are excited to see all of the great things you do. As 3 VISTA alumni on this call with you, we've been there with you, and we're there with you in spirit. Thank you. Have a great rest of your year, and if you have any questions, you definitely all have my email. With that, we're going to leave you, and have a great rest of your Wednesday.
Bye, guys.